everybody. Welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah. I'm the Community Engagement Administrator for Durham County Library. Today we are going to continue our mini-series exploration of experiencing art through our senses. For the next few minutes, blind artist John Bramblitt and art expert Jackie Siri will be leading us through the sense of sight and how it can be used to experience art. One of my favorite places to visit growing up was my grandpa's rose garden. The vibrant colors of the flowers never cease to amaze me. What do you never grow tired of looking at? Let's take a look at how we can use sight to experience art.
Well, welcome back, guys. I'm excited about this week.
I am too. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah. So we are doing our final sense. We are doing sight.
Yeah, and me, I'm a non-visual visual artist. I'm a blind painter. And so even though I can't see, I make my living as a professional visual artist, which kind of can give you a hint that maybe there's more to vision than what you normally think about.
Yeah. When you go to a museum and you're looking around, you just sight can be a very passive experience. But when you go and you think about sight more in depth, you can start thinking about how you would possibly describe it to somebody. And, what are you actually taking in when you look at art?
Yeah, and there's some very simple things that you can do with your vision when it comes to art that makes looking at art and making art so much more fun, and you get so much more out of it. So I have a fact that you may not have known, but did you know that the colors that you see may not be exactly the same shades of the colors that everyone else sees?
Really?
Yeah, there was actually a study done by Johns Hopkins where they took the Coca-Cola sign and they took Coca-Cola because it's something that most people have grown up with all around the world. You've just seen it so much. And, it's a red sign with the white letters, and they've taken that sign and they put a bunch of different colors of red, and people couldn't pick which one was the actual Coca-Cola sign, which one was the actual shade of red.
That's really surprising because I would think I could pick it out.
Yeah, and every once in a while, not everybody gets it wrong, but a huge percentage of people get it wrong, when they have all these different reds to choose from. It's just crazy.
That's interesting because there's all sorts of different optical illusions that are out there that can trick your eye or...
There is, and that's because vision actually takes place in your brain, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But yeah, do you want to look at some optical illusions?
Yeah, awesome. That sounds great. Wow, okay. So this is interesting. This one is a series, it's just black and white, and they're kind of like off-shifted. And so to me, I almost I see a little bit of movement, like they're moving a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing is like, are those lines horizontal or not?
Wow.
So like the lines going across, are they horizontal or are they bent? Are they moving up and down?
Well, they're bent.
Actually, if you were to take the white and black checkers away, they're completely horizontal.
That is so weird.
Or if you were to take a ruler and put it up against the screen and measure it, it's exactly the same going all the way across. It's just that the different angles of the black and white put together makes it look bent.
Wow. So I mean, when somebody does this with their art, you can really create some interesting concepts. Okay, so this is interesting.
Yeah, so on this one, the idea is, how many colors do you see? How many colors of green and how many colors of red do you see?
Well, I see probably, well, I think I see 4 because I see what looks like a pink, a light green, or a regular green, and a red.
And this is something that we're actually going to have a little bit of fun with later. There's only 2 colors here. There's one color of green and there's that one color of red. But because of the way the colors are placed next to each other, it makes it seem like there's more. It tricks your eye.
Huh. Wow, that's really interesting. And man, you could do, again, interesting stuff with that. Okay, so this looks like there's a darker... it's a bar going across, and there's lighter on one side and darker on the other.
Yeah, and the idea with this is, what color is the bar? Is it one color, or is it multiple colors?
Well, I assume it's multiple colors going from a gradient light to a gradient dark.
It's actually one color.
Huh.
Isn't that funny? It's the background that makes it seem like it's different colors.
Wow.
Because it's dark on one side and it makes it seem lighter, and because it's lighter on the other side, it makes it seem darker. But it's something that your eyes do. whenever it sees it. Like in real life, if something like that was to happen, it would be depth.
Oh, okay.
So isn't that crazy?
That is.
But artists can actually take these effects and apply it to their artwork. There's been famous artists that have done it.
Yeah, that's true. Salvador Dali, he basically was a surrealist in the 1930s, and all of his paintings were really interesting. They had different imagery in it. There was this one particular painting. It was Paranoid, I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
And
sounds right to me.
If you could, as you guys can see in this image, it looks like a face laying on the side, but if you look closer, it's a hut with people sitting around it. So, a lot of his paintings, he would do this.
If you ever get a chance to see some Dali paintings, go and do it. It's definitely not a boring time.
Yeah.
Whether you like his art or not, it won't be boring.
Yeah, you can look at it for a while, and you'll slowly just see different images as they form in front of you, practically.
Yeah, and that's the guy that has the melting clocks quite a bit. So he uses a lot of different illusions.
Mm-hmm.
He takes things that you would normally think about and just makes it different. And I love that, just playing around with vision that way.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Another painter is Monet, and I love Monet because he's a painter that also lost his eyesight. I lost my eyesight before I started painting, but Claude Monet was a painter who started losing his eyesight while he painted.
Oh.
And it completely changed his idea of color and his use of color. In fact, there's a little story where Claude, I call him Claude. I shouldn't probably, I don't know if we're on a first name basis, but his paintings started being hung in museums before he died, and he would go to visit the museums, but he started to bring a little pot of paints with him, and he would change the way the paintings looked. He would start to alter them because his idea of colors changed over his life.
Wow.
And I thought that was really neat. But he used a type of painting called broken color.
Ah.
And that's something that we can play around with here today, and it's something that you can do at home. But it's the idea that putting different colors together will actually make all the colors look different.
Yeah. There's an image, this grain stack painting that he did in 1891, and this is a great example of pinks and yellows and blues all put together to create this beautiful image.
Broken colors, so interesting. That is so fun how you can play around with colors and get completely different effects. You can use one color and get different ideas. Another technique where you can play around with color is called complementary color. And so if you think of a color wheel where you have the colors going all the way around it, if you take a color on one side and then you put a color on the other side of the wheel next to it, it makes both those colors look way brighter.
Oh yeah. It's like when you have blue and orange right next to each other, they almost look like they're vibrating.
Yeah, a place where you can see that quite a bit is actually on professional sports.
Oh.
So if you look at football teams, a lot of their I want to say their costumes, a lot of their uniforms are done that way. You'll see purple and yellow, you'll see blue and orange, but it makes the colors really, really bright and exciting.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Well, we should give it a try.
We should. Let's do that. That sounds like fun.
Cool. Okay, so I've got my coloring book style apple in front of me, and I've got my palette with my paints. And what I've chosen is red and green. So if you think about a color wheel, on the color wheel, it's the red is across from the green, because blue and yellow make green. Red is not involved, and so they are complementary colors.
This is really cool, guys. So whenever here's your challenge if you choose to accept it. Make some art around your house. Get some paper, get some canvas, but use the color wheel and think about how the colors relate to each other. If you really want that blue sky to pop, maybe adding in a little bit of orange here and there.
That's a good idea.
It's interesting, the more that you actually work with art and you paint, you color, your entire idea of color starts to change as well. If you were to ask a non-artist maybe what the color of an apple is, they would say, oh, red. But if you were to ask somebody that had been painting all their life what the color is, you may end up with an answer with all kinds of different shades of red and green and this and that and oranges. You might be surprised. The more you work with color, the better you get at describing it, and the more colors you actually notice in your life.
Switch paintbrushes.
What I'm noticing, I can hear the brush on paper over there, and you're a much faster painter than I am. Yeah, this is awesome. I love to hear the brush go across paper and canvas. It's one of my favorite things.
Well, I'm just trying to loosely get this down here so everybody can kind of see what the red and green look like right next to each other.
So that's interesting, guys. So you guys could see the green before the red went on. So it probably looked one way, but now with that red on there, is it really popping off the paper there?
You know, to me it is.
I bet it is.
It'd be interesting to do something with, you know, with a lighter color on one side and a darker on the other.
That would be. You know, I did a workshop at a museum once where we took the colors of the painting and we changed the backgrounds of them.
Huh.
And it completely changed the way that you thought about the painting.
Well, it's really loose. I didn't paint in the leaf and everything, but this kind of gives you an idea of the red right next to the green.
Well, that is so great. And what an innovative way to use color, too.
Thanks. But, you know, I'm curious, you being a non-visual artist, yet you create all these very visual, beautiful images. What is that like?
You know, it's funny because your eyes aren't actually what makes the image. You know, and I didn't know this when I first lost my eyesight, but of course your eyes take in information, but it's turned into electrical and chemical signals that goes to your brain, and it's actually your brain that makes the images. You know, and you can see that at night when you're dreaming. You know, so your eyes are closed, of course, but everything you see when you're asleep and you're dreaming seems real. It seems like you're actually there. And that's because it's the same part of your brain making the images when you're asleep as it does when you're awake. So it's almost like we're all living in a dream world, you know, that to our brain, whether the information is coming from our eyes or whether it's coming from a memory to our brain, it's all the same. You know, so for me, whenever I'm making visual art, I'm using that same part of my brain, but instead of using my eyes to be able to get the information, I make visions through my sense of touch.
Wow.
So I touch things, I remember things, I feel things, and then I envision it that way.
That's pretty cool. Well, you know, I would like to say and kind of challenge everybody out there that next time you go to a museum or a gallery and you look at art, don't let sight be such a passive experience. Especially if you go with a friend, just do a little exercise where you ask them to close their eyes and then you describe it to them. But don't just generally describe it. Really go into detail. How big is the art itself? You know, what is the color of the wall it's on? And really let sight be an active experience.
I'm so glad you said that. You know, I love going to museums and I love going to galleries, but that's because I go with my friend and you describe things to me and it makes the experience so much more fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's brilliant.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We look forward to hanging out in the future.
Thanks, guys.